so they can have that reference afterward. All right. And I believe everyone can see my screen, but welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for this session to talk about technology careers and businesses. You will notice that your cameras and microphones have been turned off just for this beginning portion. And again, we'll enable that capability when we start the Q&A section of the event. We're looking forward to hearing from our employer guests, and they offer career opportunities in the Philadelphia region. If you haven't already, please feel free to share your name and your major or your degree in the chat box, as well as your LinkedIn URL to network with your peers. My name is Dana McGrath. I'm an employer relations partner with the SNHU Career Services team, joined this evening by my colleague, Dr. Tori Lynn Crook, who will be helping out in the chat box and during the Q&A later on. I believe we also have my colleague Jennifer Marin in the chat, so Jennifer is available for any career-related questions as well. We are excited to kick off this virtual networking event, and again, welcome. First, it's important to note real quick, your experience here at SNHU is important to us. It's our policy and practice to create an inclusive and accessible learning environment. If there are aspects of this presentation's design or delivery that present barriers to accessibility, please notify the following contacts. Online students can reach the OAC by emailing oac@snhu.edu or call 866-305-9430. Campus students that may be in attendance can reach the Campus Accessibility Center at cac@snhu.edu or call 603-644-3118. And finally, any SNHU staff and faculty can reach the Human Resource Office at hr@snhu.edu. Also keep in mind, SNHU Career Services is a lifetime benefit included in your SNHU journey. Our team provides career support, guidance from resume reviews, mock interviews, job and internship search techniques, and so much more. So reach out to cocecareer@snhu.edu or call 888-672-1458 to schedule time with an SNHU career advisor like Tori Lynn or Jennifer. And we encourage you to explore the different platforms we have, the Handshake platform, of course, where you may have found this event tonight, and flex those networking skills with the various social media outlets that are available to connect with fellow SNHU students and alumni nationwide. And for our agenda, real quick, panelist introductions. We'll ask a couple of moderated questions, and then we will get to the fun part, the student Q&A, and get to hear all of the student and alumni questions that come in. I'm super excited to hear from our wonderful panelists who are going to share their insights about technology-related career opportunities and dynamics in the industry. And again, the cameras and mics are off, but we'll turn those on so you can ask those questions in the student question and answer portion. And first, please welcome Manasa Nayak, Senior Software Engineering Manager at Comcast. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. And Manasa, while your introduction slide is on the screen, Comcast, of course, is quite literally a household name. I have a subscription myself, but maybe elaborate a bit more about the company, and could you describe some of the most in-demand technical roles at the organization?
Yes, thank you, Dana. Thanks for the introduction and the warm welcome. I am working in Comcast since 2013. I was contracting for Comcast, and then I moved on as being a full-time employee since 2016. And I have been actively working in Comcast as a developer and graduated to being a development manager and now leading 2, 3 teams in my current org. So Comcast's main business, as we all know, is cable, is broadband. We are all well aware of that. But the wing that I work for is called Connected Living. And what we try to do is trying to make our customers' lives easier so that they can all be connected via the Xfinity app. So that's the space that my teams work in. So Xfinity app, inside of that, my main job is to help my teams design and develop all things IoT. So, be it sensors or door locks or thermostats, how the users can onboard these devices all by themselves, maintain, how they can set alarms themselves, or like that's all in dev process. But then helping the users be self sufficient and trying to cut down the technician visits to residences. That's our main goal. So we work with 14 to 15 squads inside of Connected Living, and we are in a very collaborative environment. So that's a gist of what I have to say today.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. And next we have Taylor Blatt, a campus recruiter at Cognizant. So Taylor, great to have you joining us for the session as well. And again, while your introduction slide is on the screen for attendees, could you share a bit more about Cognizant and some of the most in-demand technical roles or related roles available there?
Yes, thank you so much. So, yes, my name is Taylor. I work for Cognizant. So maybe you know what that is, maybe not. But so what we do is we are an IT consulting company. We work with a variety of different customers in all different industries. So we have like healthcare, banking, just to name a couple there. So where I'm currently recruiting for is for EPS, or Enterprise Platform Systems. They just changed the name, so I always have to look at my notes there. Enterprise Platform Systems. I am looking for computer science majors. So I did see a couple in the chat, so definitely want to connect there on LinkedIn. Also looking for within that role, like Java and Python are definitely two of the biggest things that I am currently looking for. And then this role will be in New Jersey, and it is with a variety of healthcare customers. Can't disclose which ones, but some big healthcare names there. So looking forward to this, and thank you so much for inviting us today.
Absolutely. Glad to have you here. And finally, we have Dawn Sutton. So, Dawn, if you'd like to introduce yourself, you're a recruiter, of course, and a management analyst for the Defense Logistics Agency, but feel free to, answer that same question while your slide is up if you want to share a bit more about the agency and describe some of those most in-demand technical or related roles with the agency.
Absolutely. Thank you. So, the Defense Logistics Agency is the nation's largest combatant support agency. We manage the end to end global defense supply chain from raw materials to end user dispositions for all 5 of the military services, 11 commands, and other federal, state, and local agencies, as well as partner with allied nations. I represent J6 right now, which is the Information Technology Division. And you can imagine that's a very high demand, high need for us. We're looking for cybersecurity specialists, program management, database management, cloud management, and also operation and analyst, as well as data scientist. Basically, though, if you want a job with DLA, we like to think of ourselves as the Walmart of the world, and we have a job for anyone and everyone. Thank you.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Dawn. And another quick question, just to get us started. And Manasa, if we could start with you, maybe as your insights as an IT leader specifically. So I know Taylor mentioned Java and Python, I believe, in her introduction as kind of those hard skills. But could you also recommend any specific hard skills, certifications, or software programs that students should become familiar with as they're considering a technical role with Comcast?
Yeah, sure. So inside of Connected Living, my teams mostly work on the client side of applications. That means we are working inside of the Xfinity app. Excuse me. I'm sorry, I should have got this water long back. All right, so we work inside of the Xfinity app, and that means we are looking for engineers who are well versed in iOS, Swift, Android, Kotlin kind of technologies. Having said that, there are a lot of backend systems also which heavily rely on Java. So that's the current setup that I have. But in my previous teams, we have worked on .NET being the backend. There is scope for people who have knowledge on AWS technologies. So these are some of the main core key skills that I would look for. And if you talk about front end, apart from iOS and Android, there are things like maybe JavaScript or React, which we can go learn. And if you ask for training programs, there are a ton of training programs on Udemy. Leet Code is one, and then very recently I came across HackerRank, which has a lot of software programs for all the engineering grads. There are a lot of like code snippets which we can code and we can input that and it'll tell us about the quality of the code and we can work on improving it and stuff like that. So there is a ton of resources, but these are the top three: HackerRank, LeetCode, and Udemy for training.
Perfect. It's always good to have extra resources, to come along, because I know technology is ever changing, right? So trying to keep up with all the different trends and practice that skill too. So thank you for sharing that. And Dawn or Taylor, do you feel like those are similar hard skills with your organizations, or do you have any additional to add?
Definitely similar. Sorry, Dawn, I didn't want to speak over you if you were going to talk. Yes, definitely similar. I won't go into it too much in depth just because right now I definitely don't have those roles, unfortunately. Java and Python are definitely my biggest thing that I'm looking for within computer science. So yeah, so won't go into any further, but obviously, like historically, we do have that definitely.
I wanted to add that we are looking for AWS, Microsoft Azure, cloud, Google Cloud Platform, as well as it helps, but we also provide the training to get your CompTIA certificate, networking certificate, and Cisco.
Perfect. And that leads into a great segue into my next question. So, Dawn, you mentioned in your bio, kind of that commitment to employee benefits and finding fulfilling career paths for candidates that you work with. So, you mentioned some great certification, professional development. So, what does that opportunity look like with the DLA for kind of someone that may be in a business role that wants to build their technical skills? Is that available to all employees or specifically technical related employees?
So I don't know if this is a good time to pitch this, and maybe I'm not hitting the right base, but we have a fantastic opportunity for recent graduates. So that would be for students who could be on board within 2 years of their graduation date, and basically, especially for any of our IT positions, it's a 2-year program. And actually, you'll have a whole year, so it ends up being third. But by the start of your third year, you actually double in pay. And what it is, the first year, we send you to like CompTIA certificate. We have specific training courses that we send you to on our time, on our dime. We pay for it. All you have to do is pass the positions with the certificates, as well as going out and networking with the different agencies, the different directors. I have to figure civil language here. So the different organizations within DLA. So you'll get these fantastic networking opportunities as you're learning your job. And you're progressively, as I mentioned, promoted every year upon completely successfully the program. You'll get to meet our senior leader, our CIO. And once you are done, most of our senior leaders graduate from this program. So this is an excellent program to get into. And anybody that's interested in that, if they want to drop their email address in the chat session, I'll be happy to send you a notice when we do have that opening. It's a fantastic program. It's based upon your learning skills and not your experience. The experience helps. It's difficult to get into the federal government, but this specific program is designated for recent graduates. I hope that answered your question. I mean, there's so many other programs, but we are so vested. I can't tell you how many other programs there are for getting ahead and networking and reaching out. That the federal government is just amazing. I've been there over 30 years. So you don't generally stay at a company unless they are giving you, making sure you have a healthy life balance as well and promoting you and respected. So I appreciate that email address, and I will definitely be reaching out.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dawn, and for opening that up, because it sounds like, there's a lot of opportunity there, and it definitely warrants a one-on-one conversation between you and any candidate. So that's perfect. And Taylor, do you have any specific kind of professional development opportunities that you mentioned with candidates that you speak to for careers at Cognizant too?
Yes. So what I will say is, say you come on with my role from EPS. If if it's not, quite, what you're looking for, they are very good about getting you where you want to go. So it's EPS is 6 different business units. So there's a lot of different opportunities there. It's like Salesforce, Pega, DCX, SAP, Oracle. So a lot of different opportunities there. So if, one's not exactly, working out, you can definitely, get you moved. We typically ask for like a year, obviously give it some time. And the nice thing about that is you don't always have to be like super technical with an EPS. We do offer some job positions with I'm sorry, I'm blanking. Like business majors and then supply chain management. Right now I'm not actively recruiting for those roles. However, those opportunities are there.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that, and good to see, because I know we saw business administration and project management, I believe, in the chat too. So good to know, that technical, we're seeing a lot of that business and technical kind of overlap too. So Manasa, have you taken advantage of any of these professional development opportunities yourself or recommended to your own direct reports?
Yeah, I definitely have taken advantage of for my teams. We do have a program called as Core Tech rotation, and I can get you in touch with the person who is in charge of Core Tech. So what they do is they conduct a very elaborative interview for students graduating from certain colleges, and the students who get picked from these interviews, they are given a 1.5 year internship program at Comcast, like with a 6 month rotation per project. But it's not like if I ask for a particular candidate, I'll be granted that. The candidate also should express interest in my project, and then only the candidate can come and work in my teams. And the managers, a lot of managers like me have expressed interest in these core tech candidates because they're so good at it. They have this fresh college energy, and they have like fresh set of eyes for all our problems that we have. So a lot of them end up getting recruited in the teams that they interned with. So this is a great opportunity for students, and I can definitely get you in touch with the POC there.
That's awesome, because it is. I mean, and that's kind of a tie-in with a question that I have, just to kind of, learning from other teams and that kind of interdepartmental training. So what kind of examples can you give as, maybe at someone with a technical background, how they would interact with someone with a business background too, and on projects at Comcast?
So a lot of times it's the ask of the hour to interact with program management, for instance, or sometimes with product management, to tell that okay, certain things cannot be implemented the way it is supposed to, right? So at that time we have to tell the product folks that listen, like, you want this behavior in the app, but it's not possible. So how do you explain such a situation? So I think in that's the moment in time where like the software development managers come into play, because engineers are very technical in their description. I think it's up to the team leads or the managers who can interpret this and present it in a layman format and let the product owners know like how it is done, or like why it is not possible. Maybe memory consumption is higher, or maybe the CPU utilization or the gateway CPU utilization. So these kind of things is what we communicate on. It comes with practice. It's not like rocket science. Everyone goes through this, and I think a lot of us are learning, and this is an experience. Even I came from a tech background, like I said, and I had a hard time to interpret this technical verbiage into a common language. But then it comes with practice. All I can say is that. And Comcast has a very collaborative environment. The fact that we have this opportunity to collaborate with so many other squads, we all learn, and it's a process, and we work together. What are meetings for?
Exactly. Yeah,
Right.
and kind of
Yeah.
meeting in that middle, because me being a very non-technical person,
Yeah.
having a sister that's engineering, some conversations go right over my head. So kind of
Yeah.
finding that balance, right, in the professional
Yeah.
environment. So
So we
yeah,
just wanted to add, like we use technologies like Jira, where we write stories, Jira or Rally, where the product writes stories. What do they expect as a user? So they say what is expected and how it is supposed to be done. That is the engineering team's work. We have to figure out. So there's a
got it.
balance.
Excellent. Yeah, and Don, I know you mentioned, that you kind of have a role for everyone with the DLA too. So do you find that kind of interaction between technical and business backgrounds, kind of what does that look like with the agency?
Um, I don't, as far as like our IT professionals do work with our contract specialist and our general supply specialist. Like I said, we move without moving the data. DLA would be dead in the water, which I think is true for any company at this point. I mean, if you can't get your internet, your networking, your systems up, then you're not going to be able to work. So internal customers working with the contract specialist, the general specialist, attorneys, HR specialists. I mean, I can go on, but also then working with our external customers as well. So we have a very tight relationship. Communication is the key. I think we've all learned that without that great communication, being able to cross over into different job series, so different job roles, we wouldn't be successful, and we are successful. So that's a number one emphasis with us, is being able to cross over those different organizations.
Excellent. Yeah. And Taylor, you mentioned kind of working with clients too, and especially in consulting, I'm sure that comes up a lot, working between the technical side and the, non-technical side. So if you want to maybe give some examples of how that interaction works with Cognizant.
Yes, absolutely. So obviously, I am looking for very technical candidates, but what comes with that is also the communication. Like, strong communication skills are so important in this role as well, because you will be interacting with the clients. You will be on site with the clients, and that's kind of what your day to day is going to look like, is interacting with them. So, and you'll also be working with the team. So just again, that communication is so important. And obviously, I know sometimes, like, if that doesn't come as natural as to someone, I'm a talker, but I could not do the technical side of things. So um, definitely there's people that you can bounce things off of on the team, that have those different strong suits and whatnot. So yes.
For sure. Yeah. And really, really kind of balancing those skills. And again, it's, a lot of business kind of related majors are working on technical skills because data, Don mentioned it, kind of that's becoming the norm now. So, we're about 20 minutes to the 6:45 time. So I'm going to go ahead and allow the mic and camera now. I want to open it up for students to ask questions, but I just want to say on behalf of these moderated questions, you all really appreciate such amazing insights to hear all about the opportunities you have and just everything that students can take advantage of with your organizations and companies too. So I've just enabled the cameras and microphones. So if anyone is comfortable with coming on camera or just microphone to ask a question live, or I know I had a question come in from Toria Lynn from the chat. So I'll give you all a second to raise your hand or just jump on and start networking if you'd like. All right, so I'll ask the question that Toria Lynn asked or gathered from the chat. So first question, and this looks like it should be open to anyone. Are there any roles that may be remote or are all in person, specifically in Philadelphia?
I can go ahead. So as I mentioned, we definitely are looking for roles like in the New Jersey area. However, it's definitely like a hybrid situation. So you won't always be on site with the client or in the office. Like, we definitely do offer that flexibility, which is a huge perk, especially in, today's age. So definitely more of a hybrid situation for us.
We are hybrid as well.
Yeah. Same for Comcast, mostly hybrid. And I can talk about the Philly offices. We are all in office 4 days a week. So that's the expectation, but it's flexible, and we are all looking forward to work together. Um, I don't know if we are actively hiring for one of my teams. They are like my teams are not, but inside of Comcast there are open roles which I know of. Yeah, but Jan looks promising. More to come.
Excellent. Yeah, I feel like that's definitely, the flexibility is growing, and it's helpful to hear kind of how different companies are handling that, and with the collaboration environment that is so key with technical roles, I'm sure, because that, communication can be much clearer in person sometimes. Perfect. So I had another question. If no one wants to jump on just yet and ask a question live. Oh, we got another one. All right, let's see. If any of your organizations provide any relocation assistance, if someone might not be located near an office, is that something that's available?
Uh, I can go ahead and answer that. Like some of our roles, we did provide relocation assistance in the past. It depends. Like if it depends on the interview, the role requirement, and the candidates. And certainly, we have done that in the past.
We're in a similar situation. It would depend upon if it's a difficult, hard to fill position. But we are actually located, DLA is actually located in all 50 states except for two, Wyoming and Iowa. So there's a really good chance that if Philadelphia doesn't work for you, I can tell you we're very strong on the East Coast, especially with IT positions. Big surprise here, Richmond, Virginia, and Fort Belvoir definitely have a need there, but we also have a really big presence in Columbus, Ohio. Funny that I'm going to follow this up with Battle Creek, Michigan, and of course Philadelphia and New Cumberland as well, and as far west as Hill Air Force Base in Utah. So we're pretty all over the place. And maybe if you don't, if you're looking outside Philadelphia, our vacancy announcements will cite which locations. Sometimes they list all 8 of them, and sometimes we have some places out in Tracy. But when you apply for the job, you'll know where they're open at.
Excellent. So we have oh, sorry, go ahead.
I just see that Moses asked a question, and right now the federal government is only hiring for U.S. citizens.
Thank you. And again, feel free to jump on camera if you want to network with our panelists, show your faces, and it's always great to make that connection too. Or feel free to send your questions in the chat. That's fine as well. And let's see here. So I had a question, and maybe this might be one just to kind of have a 10,000-foot view of what a project looks like in kind of concept to launch with your organization. What does that process entail?
I can go ahead and talk about it.
Sure.
That's okay. Okay. Um, so when the project comes to a dev team, it's generally coming in the form of quarterly planning. So what are we going to do for the next quarter, kind of a thing. And we have an overview of what is coming to us. And then managers talk to their tech leads and say like, okay, this is a related thing. Maybe it's an enhancement, or maybe it's a new project. This is coming to us, and we have to start designing. So once we know that we have to start designing, we start to talk to the product more and understand like who are the parties involved in this project. So that's the key thing, like get all the collaborators under one room. And then okay, there are 5 teams that you need to collaborate with. So like what are the backend teams, what are the front end teams, what are the firmware teams? So you start listing all this out, and then there is like a 20,000 feet overview and say like, okay, this is what I need. And then we start planning on how this project has to be done. So the first is the design and architecture of the project. And then once everyone is in consensus and we have the dependencies listed out, we get it to our quarterly PI planning. And in that, we kind of jot everything down into sticky notes per team, and then we kind of make it like who needs to be done first so that my team can start working on it, things like that. And basically it's figuring out like if the fifth team is also able to incorporate this work in the current quarter or not. And if it's not, then yes, hardcore dependency, out of scope, stuff like that. So scope definition and planning, everything happens. Design is sorted out, development starts, and then main part is the testing, which is very, very important. And testing also, by the way, has a lot of career options if anyone is considering testing. It needs a lot of product knowledge, domain knowledge, and functional knowledge. So that is a really good area for people who are from non-technical background to get into technical. So they can start with getting into testing, business analysis, product definition, and stuff like that. So yeah, testing happens, regression works on it, then we get like this huge pool of people to do testing parties for a particular feature, because any feature that we release, especially from Comcast, it has impact for millions of users. So we need to make sure the feature is tested, employee trial is done, tech trial is done, and then release it to a certain set of customers, which is the GA, for which product really works hard on getting it out of the door. So these are some of the snippets of a project.
Yeah, even the snippet, there's so many moving parts, I'm sure, to manage. So, it
Yes,
takes a lot.
it's
It's
fun.
probably helpful to start kind of knowing the process and then growing
Yeah.
from there. So, really appreciate that overview. And yeah, so if Dawn or Taylor, I know you're kind of more on the recruitment side, but if you are aware of any kind of projects and how that concept to launch works, welcome to open it up to your feedback too.
We have the very similar process. Our projects are mainly driven by our customers. So, Dana, are you talking? Because you're on mute.
Oh, no, sorry, I was letting you talk. Sorry.
Okay, I thought I could see you talk. Sorry. Our projects are definitely customer driven. So we have our systems in. If we find out that they're
I think you might have frozen, Dawn. So while Dawn boots back up, if she did freeze, Taylor, if you had anything you wanted
Yeah.
to share?
Yeah, so ours is definitely customer decided as well. For campus, we definitely we have a very future forecasting. Like we get demand for January and July. So yes, it's very different. That's just for campus at Cognizant. It's not like just in time hiring. But that is the kind of the nice thing when it comes to campus is I know, how many people we can take on, what the projects are, usually started around July of the prior year for January, June, and August start dates. So, but definitely, it's based on our clients' needs. And I mentioned earlier, Oracle was a big one of what big client of ours that we work with. So with that, sometimes it kind of depends on what the market looks like and how much job opportunity there is. So yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, really kind of
Dana?
ebbs and flows. Oh, Torlin, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I apologize, everyone. I know you may have a hard time hearing me, but want to ask a question about resumes. So we work with a lot of students, a lot of alum, and the first question they ask is, what are they looking for? What do they want to see on these resumes? So if someone or if all of you, if you have any suggestions when you sit down or if you use applicant tracking systems, what are you really looking for candidates to have?
I'm gonna try and jump in here and hope that I don't get disconnected again, but the federal government resume is totally different from the private sector. First off, all applications must be put in through usajobs.gov. And secondly, we are not interested in a 1 or 2 page. We need a lot of detail. We definitely are going to look into your experience. I'm going to use communication here as just a generic to give you an example. Everybody puts in there they're a great communicator. Well, the federal government wants to know, what level did you communicate at? Was it to the CEO? Was it to a general? What was the lowest? Were you a supervisor and you had subordinates, or was it a peer? And then what was the, how did you deliver it? Was it instructional? Was it a presentation? Was it just a conversation? And then, of course, how you delivered it, and an outcome, if you can give us an outcome. So I know that that sounds a lot, but I want to make everyone understand that don't be afraid if your federal resume is long, okay? I don't advise that for civil. The other thing that you really need to be concerned about in USA Jobs is documentation. If you are using your college degree, make sure you have an official transcript attached. If you don't have an official transcript completed yet, because a lot of people in these recent graduates don't, you can do an unofficial transcript. But if you get, as soon as you get that official transcript, you need to load it. You'll definitely need that before they hire you. And then I'll put a link in here. There's actually an events page on USA Jobs that we offer OPM, which is the almighty personnel office for all federal government. They offer several free webinars on how to write your resume, which will include tips, words, actions. There's another one that I highly recommend. It is interviewing, and that's good for the private sector, as well as how to use USA Jobs. And I'm so sorry that I took up so much time on that, but I can't emphasize how different the process is for the federal government versus the private sector. Thank you so much.
That was great information, Don. Even I wasn't aware of that. So much goes on. And to all the folks listening, ours is not as stringent as Don's is. Our resumes are pretty straightforward. If we have listed certain technologies to be there on the candidate's profile, as Don mentioned, private sector is very, very different. We look for those technologies, and we do have a screening call. Like if I'm the hiring manager, I would have a screening call, and in those like 30 or 45 minutes, I kind of talk to the candidate and ask about their interests and how they feel about working for Comcast and stuff like that, and kind of trying to gauge if the candidate has a learning ability. Especially, this is my individual preference again, if the candidate has a learning ability or not. And I really go by that instinct. If any candidate shows that inclination towards learning, I think they can do anything. They can learn any technology. They can be successful engineers. So that's my thought.
Yes, and I'll bounce off that. That's for a lot of the roles on campus at Cognizant, we definitely are looking for, it's like could be your first job, and you just want people that are like very eager and hungry to learn. Definitely not looking for anything more than usually 1 to 2 pages on a resume, so different from the federal government as well. But I did love that information, Don. I would have never guessed that. So yes, 1 to 2 pages. When it's specific skills, like I always love to see that like kind of like right on the top of the resume. That way I'm not like hunting for it. So again, just be very strategic where you're placing that. Just where typically like by your name and like the skills that you have is very key for technical roles, I think. So
Excellent. That was a great question, Tori Lynn, and really because the resume can be a project in and of itself, right? To make sure you're matching the job description and customizing and optimizing to get, in front of that recruiter right on the desk. So appreciate that. And we have a few more minutes. So I don't think we have any outstanding questions in the chat, but I do have a question I'd love to wrap up with if you all are okay with that. But if you could share with us what's some of the best career advice you've ever received.
step outside your comfort zone has been the best advice that I received. That's where I am at now. Honestly, I was really upset. I got my annual performance rating and they were very happy with me and everything was good. But they said that I needed to step outside of my comfort zone, that I could do so much more. And it just really made me step outside the comfort zone. And I jumped from doing numbers into human resources. So don't be afraid to take that risk, to take that challenge. You learn from your mistakes, and sometimes making the mistake is a better journey than succeeding. That's the best advice I've received.
I love that. Thank you so much, Dawn.
Taylor, you want to go ahead? I can go last.
Yes, I definitely, and it's so cliche, but don't be afraid to ask questions. I know that's like so silly and again cliche, but when I first started, like at my first job out of school, I was so scared and like intimidated to ask questions. And then I realized like my peers also like had the same questions. So don't be afraid to speak up. And yes, just like there is no stupid question. Again, cliche, but definitely just don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah, not cliche at all. Both these things I was thinking of. My addition to both these advices would be your network is your net worth. That kind of resonates with me, and that goes a long way. I never knew the importance of networking until I had to uh, go look out for other jobs. The first job I got into, I got through from a campus recruit, and I did not understand the value of a job until I have to look for another one. So, your network is your net worth. Keep networking, keep talking to people. They might not be in the same work type as you are, doesn't matter. You never know what area you're going to work on in your next project. So, go ahead and network. And this call is a great one to do that. So, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you all. That was fabulous advice and so helpful and all unique too. Really, relying on yourself, but also relying on others to kind of reach your career goals. So that's absolutely perfect. And I know we're at time now, but I just want to give a very big virtual applause to our panelists for your time, your insights, your knowledge. And I believe everyone is on LinkedIn potentially, or at least can reach out to their organization on Handshake. We have the links being shared by Denise in the chat. So feel free to check out Handshake and the job opportunities, or of course connect with our panelists to network and flex those skills, because this is why we have these kind of events. So thank you again. I'll do my little virtual applause here. And everyone have a wonderful night. Thank you again.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Love
Thanks,
Thank
to be
you.
part
Denise.
of this.
Thank you.